What's up, guys? Alex here, licensed CPA and realtor. So, interest rates went up, inflation went down. Do you buy? Do we sell? I mean, what are we doing here, right? So, welcome to today's episode of Legacy Wealth Nerds, where we talk about more than just getting rich. We talk about the ways to leave behind a legacy of wealth. Today, we have a couple agents from the office, and we also have a mortgage lender with us. So, why don't you guys go ahead and introduce yourselves?
Hi, I'm Natalia Paulino. I've been licensed in 2016. I'm also a mom. I'm a real estate mom. And I feel like I've seen two shifts now, right? Because of what happened with COVID, and now we're seeing another shift. So I'm excited to be here and talk about all that.
Nice.
Hi. What's up, everyone? My name is Cesar. I am actually a brand new agent, almost a year in. I work with Keller Williams, and just like Natalia, I've also am learning and seeing how the market's been shifting, and obviously educating myself, reading as much as I can to explain to my buyers or sellers, what's going on, as best as I can. So this would be a great topic to get into and hear from experienced people such as yourselves. So great to be here. Thank you.
And I'm Paul Chung with Cardinal Financial. I've been in the mortgage business for roughly 10 years now, and I'm, you know, this is historic what the rates have been doing this year. So I'm just going through it just like you guys.
Well, and now here's the thing, right? For the last few years, we've been constantly hearing, "Oh, we're in unprecedented times. These are like, it's the first record-breaking whatever," right? And I'm getting to that point of I'm tired of it, man. Like, I get it, the ride was wild, but now we're kind of seeing things start to bounce back, but people are still losing their minds, right? So we do see the market shift, and we are getting asked the usual, how's the market, right? So how are you guys kind of seeing that market looking right now?
It's
Natalia.
fun. I've been telling some of my recent listing, like my sellers, what's going on, and then I'll tell them it's going to be fun. We're going to make this fun because a lot of it is very unpredictable right now. Um, we see a shift, we know what's happening, we just don't know how fast everything's going to happen. So with my clients, my main goal is focusing on their personal goals and not what's happening everywhere else. Like, why do you want to sell? What do you need with the sale? Why do you want to buy? Um, Everybody was so hyper focused on interest rates. And with my buyers, I've been asking them, what is your main goal? How long are you going to live in the house? Because to a certain extent, if you're going to be there for 10 years or this is your forever home, interest rates aren't as important as getting that house that you need right now.
Right. Agreed. As far as myself, right now I'm nurturing four potential sellers, and I get that same question like, oh, I don't know if I should sell right now, especially during the holidays. The market is just climbing and climbing and climbing. Same thing with my buyers. I have some buyers that I'm still working with. We're still shopping around, and they tell me, oh, I don't know if I should, buy anything right now because of the market, rates. That's all you hear, right? But if there's one thing that I've learned and noticed in this industry is you can never take away the motivation of someone. In the end, it doesn't matter what market, what rate, what year, what week, what month, what day. If they're highly motivated and they have it behind their back, they're going to make it happen. Until then, you just have to babysit, nurture, just kind of be their mom, dad, best friend, brother, sister, cousin. Like, you just have to, say, hey, I get where you're coming from. We're gonna get through this. Your house is out there. Don't worry, your buyer's out there. It's just that motivation. If you don't have that person that's motivated to do something with you, they're just not. That's what I've learned, and I can't force it. So before, when I first started, I was very salesy. I must admit, I was trying to push, and use like these terms and vocabulary words that I wasn't even comfortable with, but I heard it from some YouTube channel from a veteran agent. But in the end, yeah, the scripts. That's a great point. I was memorizing those scripts, and in the end, like if they're not motivated, they don't care. So that's how I kind of take
I
it.
like that you brought that up. Somebody brought it up in the office recently from the Mike Ferry event they went to. And one of the things they said is even the best script is not going to work on an unmotivated client, buyer or seller.
Yeah.
And we were talking about it. I was like, that's so true. And it's funny because, like, yes, they constantly, like, push, like, the scripts and the sales and, close it. But at the end of the day, it's really about their motivation, their wants, their needs. And they're going to make a decision based on that. It doesn't matter what else is really happening. They're listening to what's going on, but at the end of the day, they can hear a bunch of information. They're still going to make their decision based on their motivations, their wants, their needs.
I think that's very interesting when you're talking about
Agreed.
motivation. Like, I think most people have a hierarchy of priorities of like, okay, I'm spending $2,500 on rent. I'm paying this much in utilities. I have all these different things that are going to my house payment, and then the interest rate kind of is scary because they missed out on discount interest rates during COVID that are most likely not coming back anytime soon unless, the next catastrophe happens. I think the best thing that I try to talk to my buyers about is what is the best decision for you at this point? We have no control over what the interest rates are. They are what they are. It comes down from the Fed and it trickles down to the banks. But if you're paying rent compared to your mortgage payment, and we can get the mortgage payment to be close to what you're paying in rent, you can build your equity and you don't miss out on this house that you can start living in, and it can start working for you.
Mm-hmm. I agree. So before we go any further, I'm just gonna drop Chris in real quick. Boom. Chris, how you doing, brother?
Hi, Chris.
Chris, what's going on?
Hey, Chris.
How are you?
Good, good. So,
How's it going, everybody?
before we go any further, why don't we do a quick intro? Chris, why don't you introduce yourself?
My name is Chris Rodriguez. I work for Keller Williams. I'm an agent there. It's my side hustle right now. I'm currently work for the MTA. Do heavy civil construction for them. I manage heavy civil construction with them. So been doing that for almost, I hate to say it, 30 years.
Look,
So,
you know, but I mean, to get back to the discussion, I mean, for me, look, when they're like, I get it, you're making money off of real estate because you're an agent, so I'm sure you're gonna tell me it's a good time to buy. No, it depends, right? What are your motivations? Where are you at financially, right? And so, from a seller standpoint, they're like, well, I'm not gonna sell my house and go pay more for a mortgage, and whatever that objection is. I'm like, slow down. If you were to move, and I'm not saying you should, but if you were to, where are you going, right? And we could discuss this, right? If you were looking to go into, say, North Carolina, and you have $800,000 in equity in your house, why are we having this conversation? Go buy it in cash, right? And you're done. Or if you're saying, hey, look, I just want to move to another section of Brooklyn, okay, you know what? Now I get you, right? You're 5 years from retirement and you don't want to pay mortgage, fine, right? But my thing has always been, if it's not something you want to do, then this isn't a conversation we should be having, right? Or just because your neighbor's saying that, oh, you could get $300,000 for your house, or rather, above asking and whatever these crazy things were in the last couple of years. If you're in the selling arena, doesn't make financial sense, right? If you are selling to buy, go talk to a lender. Don't talk to your neighbors. Don't talk to your drinking buddies. Go talk to a lender, right? Go talk to a realtor. Go talk to your tax person. See if it makes financial sense. On the buying side, they're like, I don't want to buy a house if this thing's going to drop 20%. According to who, right? And so I get it. The news articles kind of go in terms of, the housing market's going to dip, right? But it's not, that's a national average, right? And I'm hesitant to, we don't have crystal balls, we're not financial advisors, but at the end of the day, I'm not seeing that much of a drop in terms of, the houses that I've been dealing with, for instance. But on the other side of it is, even if it were to drop 5-10%, how long do you plan on living in that house, right? And again, I can't guarantee that it's going to skyrocket in the next 5 years, but if you're living there in at least 5 years, for me, I'm not worried about what's going to happen 6 months, a year down the line. I'm worried about what might happen 5 years, but we can't account for that. So from my perspective, and if it's my money, if it's my family, my friends, I don't say, hey, look, if you plan on living there, like your personal home for me is not an investment property, right? Can you afford it? Can you have financial fundamentals installed? And then go talk to your lender, right? Buy a house that you like, that you can comfortably afford, and buy it. That's it, right? I think the math should be that simple. It's, I mean, I don't think we are dealing with rentals, right? Like, are you guys working with like tenant clients or customers?
Nah. Nope.
Yeah, as of right now, I'm
Not
not working
really.
with anyone with renting.
No.
Not renting. No.
Right.
Yeah.
I went into got my first contract though.
Hey,
Congrats, brother.
congratulations.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
man. First
Yay.
one.
Dude,
Fantastic.
First one.
I remember talking to you last time. You were busting hump for that too. Congrats, brother.
Oh man.
But
It's a grind.
lately, with my listings, getting wrapped up, uh, I did start working with buyer clients, and I do see the wide variety of folks who kind of went from, like, I see the gap between, like, look, I'll just pay whatever, just as long as, please, if you keep it within that listing price, up to, we have the other side of the spectrum where they think their bargaining power is stronger than they think it actually is. So we're talking about, I want $100,000 off the list price, and I want them to pay for all the repairs. And I'm like, dude, I, I don't think, I don't, like, I get it. You read some article saying that this is a buyer's market or something along those lines, but you're asking for a steal, and the likelihood of that isn't going to be that great. Oh, but I'm a cash buyer. I'm like, I understand that. And look,
Yeah, what is with that cash buy?
you want me to say,
Right.
I'll ask them, but if they spit in your face, then you can't get that. You know?
I think right now we have to really focus on educating them locally, like within the boroughs, within those neighborhoods, because it's different, right? They're just seeing or hearing general statements like it's a buyer's market. Well, not everywhere,
Mhm.
I talked to agents nationally to kind of get an idea what's going on as well. And I think it's South Carolina, like they are booming. They have a really crazy market. It's a seller's market.
Hmm.
And even some areas over here between the boroughs, it's still a seller's market. It's not as strong as it was, where it's like 60 offers, 100 showings, maybe half of that or less, but it's still a seller's market.
Mhm.
So I think some people forget to have that conversation with their clients. Like, I know you hear this going on, but in this neighborhood, this is what's happening, and these are the numbers. And that's something we talk about in the office is knowing your numbers on a very local level, which is easy because we all have access to those numbers.
Absolutely. So I guess there are going to be folks who are saying, hey, look, just tell me what to do. Tell me what to do,
Right.
right? So hypothetically, let's say, all right, so let's say they picked up a house, they picked it up for 7%, right? And they're thinking, but what if the interest rates drop, right? Let's say, oh, well, my neighbor said that it's going to drop to 5% next year, right? Obviously, you know, in our head, we're thinking, and you know that how, right? There's no way
Right.
to, right? So let's, for instance, we're in this hypothetical, let's just assume, right? We believe them, okay? How would you kind of walk them through what the potential steps could be? So like, what's the move it drops. So let's say $900,000 house, 7%, and the buyer's like, but what if the interest rates drop next year?
You know, personally, I've definitely experienced already that type of, I guess, objections, right, in a sense. And I know I'm fairly new, but I definitely understood now what I didn't know when I first started from hearing from the other like veteran agents that I've spoken to about not necessarily like wasting your time on those type of clients, if you will, because time is money, right? So you educate them very briefly, but you already know that their motivation, again, it all comes down to motivation. Their motivation is just not there. So you educate them a little bit, you nurture them, put them in your CRM as a, BC type of buyer, and then move on to the next. Because we're always fishing for that A buyer, A seller, right? So personally, I do agree with, Natalia about, educate them, give them a brief, okay, this is what's going on. We could try this and this. But if they constantly give you objections, which will happen, and I get if you keep pushing, you can kind of convince them. But I think for me, my approach, and this is just my personal opinion, once I start seeing one or two or three many objections and I'm not getting anywhere, I'll just say in my mind, okay, they're just not ready. I'm going to put them in, kind of the back end a little bit. I'll keep my eye on them, but let's move on to the next one, and then so forth. I think I've definitely grown in that department because in the beginning, I would try to stay on the phone or speak with them in person and not leave until I get a definitive answer. Mm-hmm. And in the end, I just wasted maybe like 2 hours when I could have been doing something else with another person that probably is a little bit more motivated than that person. If that all makes sense,
I mean, there's always the looky-loos, right? And I think we've all at least been burned once, right? And so for me, I agree. I mean, there is a thing of like, hey, look, I get it. You got your perspective, but from what I see in my seat, when I looked at the numbers in our neighborhoods, not nationally, our neighborhood, it's X, Y, and Z. But if you're going to keep combating me on this, either A, I'm not delivering something in a way that you're receiving it, or you're not ready. In either circumstance, I don't think I'm the agent for you, right? And obviously, there's no need to be a jerk about it. Sometimes it is what it is. And, I'm getting to that point where, there are a bunch of folks who are like, hey, look, for whatever the reason is, I don't know that this is going to work because I'm in the business of getting, people in homes. Okay. And unfortunately, I don't think at this point, I don't think I'm going to be able to do that for you because, it seems to me that you're not comfortable, right? There's something that's not connecting to where you're comfortable purchasing a house. And I know you said you're serious, but I like actions, right? So if every step of the way you're kind of like fighting me on this, then either A, I'm not performing as your agent, or there's something on your side that's kind of holding you back. And until we flesh that out, I don't think we could work.
Well, this reminds me of a story of I was speaking to my dry cleaner, and we were talking about the market of the real estate and how it's crazy, and he was telling me about his situation in the 80s, and he wanted to buy a house with his brother, and the interest rates were about 12%, and he, the houses back then were a lot more affordable for him, so he wanted to do it, but his brother kind of was thinking that 12% is too high, let's wait for the interest rates to come down. They missed out on the house, and now he's been renting ever since because he can't afford a house anymore. The home prices have shot up, and even though the interest rates came down, he's not going to qualify for a mortgage, and he's just been stuck renting, and he just looks back with all this regret.
I mean, Paul, let me ask you.
I think that
let's say I bought a house, closed on it by the end of the year, right? And let's say Well, actually, no. Let me ask you. Typically, at what kind of like um, interest rate spread would you say it might make sense to refi?
Um, at least 0.5% off. If the rates drop 0.5%, it might make sense. There in New York City, you have the option to do a consolidation called a SEMA, where you save on the mortgage tax, which is a great benefit to a lot of people in the boroughs.
Right? And so, is there like a time frame that you recommend? Like, you would just have like wait a half a year, 18 years?
I would say it depends. You got to speak to a mortgage lender. What we can do is we can kind of project out your amortization, and at this point, you save monthly, and then even with the closing costs, after X amount of years, you're gonna break even. And if you live beyond, like, if you live in the home beyond that, you're you're saving that much more every month.
Okay. Right. And I think that's where a lot of people kind of get lost, right? They see the rate right now and they say, I'm not going to do it. And how many times have you guys seen where they're like, I'm going to wait, and then interest rate, well, now it did drop, a couple years ago, and now they can't afford it, or the competition is too strong, right? And so for me, my perspective, I think this is why I go back to, can you afford it? Are your financial fundamentals in such a way that you can comfortably afford this and not lose your shirt, right? And so for me, I think that's the thing. Like, if it drops, then guess what? You're not fighting people over this. Go refi your house, and you're good. Um, if the rates go up, well, no matter who told you what, you still won, in my opinion, right? If the house price drops, well, it doesn't matter until you sell, right? And I would assume you're not going to sell till years down the line. Like, most people will live in a house 5 to 18 years, right? And so for me, I'm not going to worry about things that don't factor in to this equation right now. It shouldn't. I think that's where a lot of people lose sight of things because they're like, oh, it's going to crash. I mean, I remember when I first started, they're like, oh, 1% of your interest rate equates to 10% of your market value. I'm not seeing any kind. Like, I mean, let me ask you, Natalia. I think you had a listing recently, right? Or you were dealing with sale. Did you see a 1% to 10%, interest cost ratio?
No.
Right. And so I think, that's the thing. They're like, oh, it's gonna drop, or it's gonna go up, and it's gonna drop. I'll buy, but time in the market better than timing the market. Agreed, or am I crazy?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, it hurts my heart.
It's just a lot. Yeah, it does. But with the high interest rates, the prices haven't come down either, and they see both. And
Mhm.
now they sit on the sidelines and say, you know what? I'm either going to wait for the interest rate to come down, or I'm going to wait for the price to come down.
Right. I mean,
And then, how long are you going to wait?
and that's the side of it. I mean, I know I was picking Paul's brain in terms of, how to figure out financing for, in almost like house hack situations. Um, unfortunately, I think a lot of folks in my generation and younger, that's what's going to resort to, right? Like, you may not be able to take down a house by yourself, but if you are going to be a tenant anyway, why not set up a renting situation except you're the landlord,
Yep,
right? And
absolutely.
and this is where, well, just for clear disclosures, I'm not telling you to illegally like rent out rooms or anything like that. When I say house hack, I mean keep everything above board, right?
Go rent out your basement illegally.
Right.
Right.
So I did see the.
I have those conversations. They're asking me, and I'm like, could you rent the basement? I mean, you could do whatever you want with your house.
Right.
Can you
There you go.
legally rent it? It's a different story. And what you choose to do with it, I don't want to hear about it.
Yeah. And that's
Yeah.
exactly the same spiel, right? And I'm like, look, in terms of legality, go talk to a lawyer, right?
Right.
And it's like, And when they ask me that, even from like there was a listing in Flushing I had, like, can we rent out the basement? I'm like, I mean, like, if you own the house, you do what you want. But if you
Right.
talk about legality, I strongly recommend you talk to a lawyer. And as a realtor, I cannot tell you to do anything to break the law. Period. Right? I'm not even going
Right.
to suggest it. I can't recommend. I can't. Right. So with that said,
You can direct them to a
look
link
into your
as
whole
well where
business.
they can read what qualifies as a legal rentable unit.
Absolutely. You know.
That house in Flushing, they had illegal. They were rented legally down there, right? They had to remove that kitchen, Alex.
Yeah. Uh, so
I mean,
with this listing, the backstory is they owned a house in northern Flushing, uh, and when they purchased it, they were immigrant, right? And so they didn't really understand completely what they were signing when they bought this property. And so when they looked at the CO, or the certificate of occupancy, there was like handwriting of two family, right? And they didn't understand, so they assumed, they said, "Oh, two families allowed." And so when they had an issue, and I forget how like that went about, but eventually I think the building department was like, "Hey, like, just let's check out your CO." And like, see, and they sent it, and like, you have an illegal two-family residence, you know this, right? And they're like, what are you talking about? The CO clearly says two-family exclamation point. They're like, um, no, that's not how it works here. The typed text, that's your occupancy. That one family is your legal occupancy. This handwriting doesn't mean anything. So they were in a
Do you have a
Right.
situation
picture
where
of
they're like,
this?
what happened?
Do you have a picture of this? Because I would love to see this.
I actually probably have it around. I'll probably show you out there.
A little
It's
handwritten note on the side. This is a two family? What?
yeah, like in the upper corner, it just says two family, right? And I
Wow.
was like, I can't believe. And the problem is, these sellers, they bought it as is, right? So they see all this stuff already in. They're like, oh, it must be, legal two family. I mean, they never had an issue, right? We bought it as is. I mean, who was to know anything? And then you find out that it looks like the previous landlord owner had it run illegally,
Right.
Like, who is their
and
attorney, though?
these owners didn't know, you know. So, but yeah, I mean, I think the beauty of it here is, I think the idea that you need to buy your dream home or this perfect thing is kind of messing up a lot of folks, right? Especially the younger folks. Like, if you're younger, I think if you have a solid income, see if you can house hack legally, talk to your lender, right? And maybe you live in one of the units, or I think New York City code allows you to have three unrelated parties in a residence. Take advantage of that, right? You might not be able to rent rooms, but you could have housemates, right? Build up your equity, build up your equity position. And I know a lot of folks, they say, my parents co-signed so we could get the loan. But since we are housemating everything, then we make our mortgage money and then some, save up all that, and when the economy does better, I go ahead and buy my house with that. Or I'll go buy investments. It doesn't have to be in your backyard, right? But yeah, that's my soapbox.
too bad you can't make your children do that.
Hmm? I mean, look,
I said, too bad you can't get your kids to pay your rent.
I mean, good, you know.
Yeah, they won't, but yeah. I got mine rented a room for free.
Yeah,
Renting a room for free, I love it.
Yeah, it's the best way.
all inclusive.
All inclusive. That's it. Utilities and everything included,
Oh, good.
And food,
I
too?
mean,
and food.
That is all inclusive.
Uh,
concierge
You
grocery
keep the
service.
fridge stocked.
yeah. So,
I mean, Caesar, I hear rumblings that you've been making some moves lately, or well, at this point, maybe a little further back, because with the baby, I've been a little out of sorts.
What moves?
Ah,
Moving this house.
No, I mean, I'm just doing what I guess any real estate agent is doing, is just doing the right thing by making your calls, door knocking, follow ups, you know, advertising your name, you know, media. Just it's a lot of work. It's a lot of tedious work, and I've been fortunate enough.
what do you advertise on? Sorry.
Right now, Facebook is kind of like my main thing. I know I'm definitely losing out on TikTok and Instagram and God knows what other type of platforms. But, you know,
Yeah. So you're
it's
talking to the professional here in the middle. She's in the middle of my screen.
right. I hear you. But it's really it's tough. I must admit, you know, like before I would criticize a lot of these influencers and, you know, these YouTube and TikTok sensation artists, whatever you want to call them. But like in the end, you have to be a special person to put yourself on that camera and do all those things and edit, and just be creative. I give them
key,
respect.
man.
I really do. I have a whole
I
new
do.
outlook on that. I give a lot of those people respect. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's some content that I don't agree with that, you know, they get famous off of, but you know, those who are dedicated to their craft, is like, I applaud that. And I know if I apply myself a little bit better to do that, I could probably generate more business. But that, again, it has to come from yourself, right? And I don't think I'm there yet mentally to get, you know, myself going on those platforms. But baby steps, you know, Facebook is still there, and maybe I'll graduate to Instagram or a TikTok, but who knows? But overall, as far as like the moves that I've been making is just that, you know, doing all those things that I'm supposed to be doing, you know, nurturing these leads and building my business 8 months from now, 2 years from now, because that's, I guess, what I'm learning. I'm not really focused on trying to get a for sale by owner and list their house now, or getting a buyer and get them into a home right now. I mean, don't get me wrong, if it comes, fantastic, but I'm really focusing on building up my database, you know, that CRM, seeing from 100 contacts to 500 now becomes 2,000, you know, because that's going to be my future in the future, you know? So I just got to be patient. This is a patient game.
Absolutely.
You know, can't force it. But I've been lucky, you know, 8 months in, I got 2 closings under my belt, 2 referral fees. So I've seen some money, and it's gone very quickly.
Nice.
It's gone away very quickly. But, you know, like I said, I'm very fortunate, very blessed to at least have that under my belt so far. I've heard some agents in 1 year did not see 1 paycheck. So I'm grateful.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, with everything going on right now, the death rate of real estate careers, I think, is a speedball for the next like year and a half. I think you're going to see, when the economy was what it was 2 or 3 years ago, everyone and the mother wanted to be a realtor, right? Oh, I'm going to be a realtor. I can't wait to make 6 figures and make $1 million paychecks and, all this nonsense. And, the agents who got in early, got decent training, they did well. They did well. But the tide's going out, whether it be investments or real estate careers, right? And part of the reason why I wanted to talk to y'all is because we have 3 new agents, right? Myself being the 3rd. And then you have Natalia over here, who's, I consider her a seasoned veteran, right? And
Compared to all of us.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
But, the conversation that I have with her, there's just like there's not a holier than thou. It's like, look, I get it. It's gonna suck, and did suck, but get your bootstraps and ask for help when you need it, because we're here. But yeah, let's go. Let's get this work done. And I respect that. But the tide is going out, and unfortunately, I see realtors going to start dropping like flies in the next 3 to 6 months.
They had it easy, that's why.
Yeah, Yeah.
Now we're moving into like a skill-based kind of setting where you have to know what you're doing and how to generate your leads and continue your follow-up. When it comes to social media, I always hated it. It wasn't my thing, but I started to change my perspective when I realized that's where everything is going. And our goal is to build our database, right? Connect with as many people as possible, talk to as many people as possible. So when you think of social media, how many people can you get in front of in social media? You know, you could spend 15 minutes on social media and be in front of 100 people at one time. So why wouldn't you take advantage of that? I've started, I need to be a little bit more consistent with it, but I also feel the people I reach out to are hesitant to do this, but just connect with somebody and go live with them and have a conversation. Real estate agents, um, people who do coaching or investments, things like that, have a live conversation with them. The last one I did, it was multi-beneficial. Like I'm connecting with this big investor to teach me. I'm in front of his audience, my audience at the same time. And I'm also connecting him with my audience who's connecting me with his. Like there's just so many different layers to it. And that is my motivation because at the same time, it's also time efficient that I'm in front of so many people in a short period of time versus wasting like 8, 10 hours trying to talk to those same 100 people.
And I definitely agree with that.
Right.
I think the hard part, it's not, I don't know, I could talk in front of a camera all day long, but
Yeah.
it's just editing it and getting it to something that people will watch
Right.
instead of just, like you're adding. I watch some of your videos, the editing, the putting everything in the right spot, the just Alex too. You're good at it as well. It's just getting that process down of how social media, how it works, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can be entertaining all you want, but if you can't edit your videos and just put them out there and they're all sloppy, I guess people are going to get a kick out of it. But I don't know if they necessarily want to buy a house from you.
I would say
You
keep
know,
it simple at first. Because when I started, some of my stuff was not even 5 minutes. Something short, quick, and
I,
simple, and that's it.
I
Because
mean,
it's
that day
just
you
like
showed me how
building
to use it.
momentum and building, like getting comfortable and just coming up with more ideas. Because I feel like when I did shorter stuff, like people don't want to see you talk for 15 minutes, most of them. Like they really want it, I would say under a minute nowadays. Like that's
Right.
why Reels became popular. Because people don't want to sit there and listen to
Mm-hmm.
just one person for 5 minutes, but they might 30 to 60 seconds listen to your full video.
Agreed.
And how do you do that? How do you get it into 30 seconds a minute, right? You got to figure that out. That's the key,
Right,
you know. Like when you showed me that one time how to edit, we did that. I don't know. It was only 30 seconds, 45
right.
seconds clip. I was amazed that you did it so easy.
I
Still
think
trying to
they've
figure it out.
gotten
I'll
better
get
to
there.
it helping us with editing. Because I used to do a lot of different apps to edit, and now I really just use Instagram or Facebook. Because well, I think it's Instagram I use more now because the editing features are a little bit nicer. You can record each clip and then you can edit the transitions on it as well. So you're not I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible now. So I use their platform and by using their platform too, you're supposed to get a little bit more exposure because they want you to use their features.
Have you ever had a class on that? Like, have you ever taught something?
I did do a class. When
That would
was
be
it?
something I would be interested in.
I could do it again.
I think it's
Yeah,
good.
you
I'll
can
let
let
the
me know when
office
you do it.
know.
If they, I mean, yeah, let me know because I would.
I wanted to let them know too for that. I feel like it's easier doing it in person because then we could all do something at like actually do it hands
Right
on.
there.
Right.
Right.
And I think that's the thing. Like, I think there was a class previously, and They were kind of like, oh, they just had to sit there on our phone. I'm like, that's important, right?
Right.
I could, I mean, I guess there's a dichotomy here, right? Do you want the theory and strategies, or do you want practical know-how? And I'm not knocking either or, right? Because you've seen some of my content, and it's horrendous, right? So if the execution is garbage, it doesn't matter. But if the premise is garbage, you can still be screwed, you know? So I think if you were to get into that, if you were to run that class of like, look, this is how I actually build my content and before posting, I think you have a packed house, you know?
Yeah.
If you have any questions and you want to reach out to any of our agents, um, info will be down below. But just in case, Natalia, where can people come find you?
You can call or text me, 347-941, wait, 941-4246. You can find me on Instagram, nataliap.realtor.
There you go. Cesar?
You can call or text me at 516-497-5842. And as of right now, Facebook. So Cesar Jimenez. All right. Maybe an Instagram, TikTok, YouTube coming. I don't know when, but
Dude,
You're already set up for
on
it.
Instagram next tonight. Seriously, tonight.
ay.
I'm a hound you, bro.
I know you will,
how annoying I
bro.
can be.
I know.
Chris?
Chris Rodriguez, you could reach me at 646-210-3272. Text or call anytime.
And I'm at,
And social media, I'm still working on.
you can reach me at paulchung_mortgages on Instagram.
All right. So, is it me or did the echo disappear? What my cameras?
Here, let me
I
try
don't know.
muting myself.
So,
Thanks for arranging this, Alex.
Nah.